This video is a recording of a live event, about an hour and 15-minute webinar, and it's really packed with all sorts of energy healings and information and explorations into the fine abstract layers of creation. I hope you love it. If you do, please like and subscribe. For the new people, I will do an overview of what is energy healing, and then we'll have 3 minutes of silence, and then we'll do the prayer of gratitude, and then we'll dive into today's topic. Easy peasy. Oh wait, review of yesterday, and then today's topic. And as usual on Saturday, I'll put a little more emphasis on people's questions and just doing the straight up energy healing work. Energy healing is a process of directing awareness or attention, which is consciousness, in a way that allows it to self-interact. In energy healing, awareness interacts with its own nature, consciousness interacts with itself, and the dynamics, the most profound dynamics of self-interacting consciousness take place down at the very subtle level of the field of consciousness. I'm using my, by the way, also as part of the introduction, I'm using my background here of the ocean as a metaphor for the ocean of consciousness, right? Because we need a kind of a context in which to understand how awareness or consciousness is self-interacting and like precisely. So the ocean represents the infinite, eternal, unbounded field of absolute unmanifest being, and the sky area represents the material level of creation. And the material level of creation is stratified, just the sky. It's so beautiful. I love these, I always want to use ocean pictures now, because look on this side, this lovely little strip of white down here, kind of whitish yellow, is so beautiful. And it shows that there's this like very lively, intense edge between the unmanifest field and the manifest field of creation, which is where those dynamics of consciousness self-interacting are the most profound and the most significant regarding what shows up at the surface. So in energy healing, the symptom is found at the surface, but then we bring awareness down into the depths, very close to that unmanifest source of creation, and even into the source of creation, even into it. And in so doing, we activate the potential that's in this area, this infinite being, eternal being, also infinite potential and infinite resources, wisdom, energy, creativity. So awareness sees the symptom at the surface and says, oh, something's wrong. And so it's like, okay, well, we're going to dive down and we're going to see what's wrong in the base, in the foundation, at the root. What's the root of the problem? What's the root of the symptom? And go down and address that root down here in this gap between the unmanifest field of creation and the manifest field of creation. And functioning at that level is extremely powerful. I'm not just saying this because I think it is, or because Dorothy has that experience and nobody else does. This is literally ancient technology. I mean, the roots of this go back in writing back to about 1500 BC, BCE. But the knowledge and the technology itself is far, far, far older than that. It goes back as an oral tradition for tens of thousands of years, at least. So it's not just a theory, it's in practice. In practice, this is a thing. This is a thing that Dorothy is essentially refitting to support this world and this life, and to everybody that in our modern day and age, we're facing challenges that our predecessors at 15,000 BC were not facing, right? We have different types of challenges, and we need all the resources, all the life hacks we can get. So energy healing is, we could say, a kind of a life hack. It's a way of focusing attention that causes evolutionary transformation, that helps turn any situation, even the worst of them, into something valuable and precious and useful and helpful, etc. Okay. All right, that's what energy healing is. Let's take our 3 minutes of silence. Why do we take 3 minutes of silence at the beginning of these sessions? Because that gives us a chance to dive in, to bring awareness in, and to experience that source of creation, that infinite, eternal source of everything that is within all of us. So we start from the source, and then we explode forward into our webinar. I'll ask you to close your eyes. And when I do that, please take a minute and then, yeah, close the eyes. And then after I ask you to open the eyes, take a minute, then take a minute at that point and come out slowly, because the more slowly we come out, the more of the profound experience of the inner silence comes with us. All right, let's close our eyes. All right. Let's slowly open our eyes. I love going in, but I also love coming out. Going in and out of the silence is so sweet. Thank you, everyone, for your beautiful silence. So refreshing, purifying. Okay. Oh, I promised I would speak more at like an even volume. We do think that we fixed the volume problem from yesterday, but anyway. All right. Thank you to the source of creation for being everything. Thank you for being everyone in this live healing webinar and all the universe around each one of us. Thank you to the eternal tradition of wisdom for creating a bridge between the unmanifest eternal source of creation and the whole manifest field of creation. The bridge of knowledge is so, so precious. So precious. We would be, life would be lost without that. Thank you for our ability to work today concisely and efficiently. May we engage as a group in the most powerful and amazing healings today to support everyone's highest and best evolution. I really hope that our hour today meets and exceeds everyone's desires and hopes for what we can accomplish. And I thank you all for allowing me the privilege of being the voice of our group It's so sweet to be with everyone, and it's really an exciting thing for me to be in this position and to express those fine concepts through the filter of all of us together. It's very, very sweet. So thank you very much. All right. Yesterday was quite a bit theoretical, and mostly it was kind of putting the information of the gap in context. Um, we did talk about these four phases of the gap, which have Vedic names, and that's this drawing upon the ancient Sanskrit and Vedic science. Um, I have them right over here, so I don't, and hopefully I pronounce them right, but I'm not a Sanskrit scholar per se. Anyway, Pradamsavav, above, Pradamsa above is the sliding in to the field of silence. And then Atyanta above is the silence. And then Anyonya above is the beginning to wake up, to emerge from the silence. And then Pragabhav is the emergence from the silence. So they have these four phases. And yesterday we really focused a lot on Anyonya above and Pragabhav, which is the dynamism inside, like getting ready to emerge, and then Pragabhav, the emerging. And we really focused on them. And in terms of the English correlates, because I'm using some English words to help them kind of make a sense to us individually through our experience. Because these concepts, they're so abstract, but if we understand them from the level of direct experience, it just stabilizes them. So Anyonya above, which is the dynamism within the silence, can also be thought of as your pure potential. And this field of unmanifest being is like it hasn't come forth yet. So it's just the potential for something to come through. But because it's the field of consciousness is folded in on itself at this level, the level of being, then the potential is very pure. There's nothing outside of it. There's nothing mixed with it. There's no diversity or separation that's mixed with it that can corrupt that value. And this quality of pure potential is something that we all have and we all find within ourselves. And anybody out there who's a mom or dad who's held that little newborn baby in your hands, you know that experience in your arms. That little baby is like the life can become anything. There's that sense of, oh, here's this human life, and it could literally become anything. And so we all have that in us, even though as adults, we've collapsed that pure potential into specific forms and we're living specific lives. The truth is that the pure potential remains intact. It remains unsoiled. It remains pure within all of us in that sort of lively state of unmanifest being in the silence, but like awake in the silence. It's awake in the silence. And that pure potential gives rise to the heart's deepest desire. And there was something I wanted to say about that yesterday that I didn't really quite get a chance to lay it out so specifically, but it's part of the downloads that I was getting over the last couple of weeks. So I'd really like to share that with everyone here. And that is that I mentioned that the heart's deepest desire, that first expression of your pure potential that forms the seed of the life blueprint and the body blueprint and everything that we do, everything that we become in our life. It's sown, the seed is sown at the moment of death in the previous incarnation. Whatever the soul feels at the time of passing out of the previous incarnation, out of the previous human life, whatever's that thought or feeling or wish or desire of, oh, I lived a whole life and this is the end. Oh, I realize it's the end, but there was something I really wanted to do. That becomes the seed of the next incarnation. So I was looking at that in terms of the patterns of the entire lifespan. And when I say that, I mean all the lives ever lived. everybody, we come into the astral level of the physiology where all the threads, the web of life resides, and where our body appears as like meridians or threads, like a web. And well, I have a picture of it. I guess you all have seen the picture before. I suppose most of you have. Um, anyway, the picture from Harry Alto, the yellow one with the little man and then all the threads coming out. Anyway, the threads, we pick up, the threads form something that looks like kind of a cosmic, multidimensional snowflake, you could say, because they generate here in the center, in the heart energy center, but they form this amazing, beautiful, sacred geometrical web around us, which is our astral body, and then it extends out, and it's also the web of life. And the physiology that you have forms the point of the center of that cosmic snowflake. However, each lifetime we have a new physiology. So it means that the center moves over a little bit. It's like a linear progression. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that there's this linear progression in the nature of the heart's deepest desire. So when the soul is young, the heart's deepest desire is, the deep desires tend to be a little bit, this is the pattern that I was seeing as part of the download, that the heart's deepest desires tend to be a little more generalized, and the desires tend to be a little more oriented towards achievements at the material level of creation. But there comes a point where there's really a shift in the life flow, and the desire for balance becomes very strong, and the desire for spiritual growth becomes very strong. It becomes evident at some point along this progression of many, many life. All of us have hundreds of lifetimes at least. And along the progression of many, many lifetimes, we start to realize that success in the material field, particularly long-term, the kind of long-term success that gives rise to really high quality of life and really stable comforts in life, not just short-term, but long-term stability and comfort, that those are founded upon broader and broader comprehension, right? How can you make a choice in the present that has a long-term beneficial effect if the range of consciousness is narrow enough that we can't see it, right? The range of consciousness has to be big. We need to be able to see, we need to be able to look a decade or two or three or four or a lifetime or multiple lifetimes into the future and say, what kind of choices and decisions do I have to make right now today, so that as I'm progressing along this path, the net result is improvement and improvement, improvement, improvement. We all know there are lots of things we can do in the short term that appear as improvements, but that are really just feeding addictions or finding short-term solutions that don't actually address the core or cause of problems, right? Okay. So there's this linear progression of the heart's desire. And the heart's desire, because what'll happen is you live a life and it's like you fulfill a lot of the desire, right? And then all that's left is like the rarest form of that desire, the sort of deepest level of that desire, the most refined or delicate aspect maybe doesn't get fulfilled. So then that becomes the seed for the next incarnation, which means the next incarnation, one will be functioning in a more refined manner, a more evolved manner. This is how it is that the past is a lesser state of evolution and the future is a greater state of evolution, is that the heart's desire itself evolves from lifetime to lifetime. It also, you can imagine, gives rise to lifetimes that are more specific, that are more like focused into a very specific vein or area of study, like the way a person's path through the educational process evolves, right? In kindergarten, everybody learns ABC, but by the time you get to graduate work or your doctorate or something, the range of the study is narrowed down significantly. You've gotten to know yourself, and you've gotten to know what fuels the experience of a meaningful life and value in the development of the soul and what the soul needs. We talked a lot yesterday about the relationship between the divine, the desire of the divine, because all of our heart's desires are just little tiny versions of the desire of divinity, the big cosmic being of creation. Which brings us to some healing. As I just close my eyes right now, the most brilliant, warm, orangish glow just came up right in front of me. And I realized that the laws of nature that are lively right now, today, at this time in creation, this moment that we're all meeting together, are intimately connected to the mother of creation. So, with reverence to that one big being of which we are all a part, we are all part of. We're not a part, but a part of. We are all a part of that great, incredible being. With all reverence and appreciation, just letting the heart settle into a place of grace and appreciation, honoring, kind of reverence, reverence. And what I'm noticing are here in this gap, because this um, webinar is about the gap, is navigating the gap. So we've kind of looked at the structure of the gap. But now what I'm noticing in the gap is how they're fractal forms of waves of consciousness. So, and we talked about this a little bit at the last webinar, how there's like a big overarching theme, like a big tidal wave, overarching theme. And then within that, and the ocean's such a beautiful metaphor for that, right? Because the ocean has big waves, and then within the big waves are smaller waves, and with the smaller waves within those are even smaller like that. So I'm just looking at that patterning that's in this and how the overarching theme of natural law at this point, right now, today, is this mother of creation energy. And the mother of creation energy has a kind of threefold nature. It has the, the first teacher, your first teacher, and the holder of all the wisdom and all the knowledge. And then it has that just very kind of unconditionally loving, you know, ebullient flow of the richest nourishment and adoration and love and support. And then it has that sort of fierce mama bear energy. So we have these three values. And the waves reflect that. Right. Right. The waves reflect that in the emergence from the source of creation is it's catalyzed by love, but it's the creative flow of energy from the source of creation that creates the whole field is really the flow of knowingness or knowledge, wisdom. It's knowingness. It's built on the laws of nature that understand how the creation fits together, how everything fits together. And then that sort of deep loving aspect of the mother of creation gives rise to the integration of wholeness into all the parts, all the diversified parts of the creation. And the unification is actually carried out by the mama bear energy, that more fierce, intense energy that in order to create the condition that maximizes our efficiency in unifying with the source of creation, there's a certain degree of like stripping away of what's not needed. There's a certain stripping away of the dead wood, strip away the dead wood. And the unification process, as beautiful and amazing and powerful as it is, it's not necessarily the most comfortable experience. It's not necessarily comfortable until you get to the point of unification. but the process itself can be very like turbulent. It can have turbulence in it. And it like it's as individuals, we become stretched and we grow and we discover the greatness of our potential in order to get from feeling like, oh, I'm just an individual human being living on earth, separate from the creator, to being in a state where there's no set, the spectrum from the surface to the source of creation is wide open. There's some purification is required, some purification. And so all the illness that the body goes through, any illnesses that we go through, any unpleasantnesses or any experiences or situations or circumstances that are not fun, are those moments where the purification is taking place that ultimately sets the condition for the unification. But the system, the human physical nervous system and the mental and emotional system have to reach a certain level of refinement in order for wholeness to come. So my question is, because I really like to focus on the healings, my question is, how can we facilitate that? How can we use energy healing and focus of our attention to facilitate refinement of the mind, body, and emotions so that that process is as graceful and as efficient as possible? Let's find our way to the goal in the highest and best possible way. And just dropping that question, I'm allowing that question to drop into the field of silence. The answer is that the heart center, when the heart center is set up and organized in a way that is like in your highest and best interest, we could say, then this is the seed. It sets the condition because it is through the heart energy center that we access those very fine levels of consciousness. So this is happening, and what's the way, the mechanic of it, I'm watching the mechanic because we've done a lot of heart center healing before, right? But every day is new, and we have this law of nature of the mother of creation. The mother of creation, nature, is here with us. That color, that warm, sort of orangish, peachish, peachy color that was coming as it represents the quality of download taking place in the heart center at this time. The heart's receiving this download of sort of a direct visceral experience of a connection between the heart energy center here in the physiology and the heart of the mother of creation. And what's really beautiful is that we're doing this as a group, and that all of your beautiful hearts together, we create like a giant heart. It's like a big heart, kind of a harmonious agreement of all the hearts to integrate and own the direct connection to the heart of the mother of creation. And I see that as the little, just it's such a fine adjustment. It's just down here in the gap, just such a tiny, tiny little modification of where the heart already was, because so many beautiful hearts in this group, right? But that greater connection, that deeper harmonization with the heart of the mother of creation. The reason is that the mother's heart is like so multidimensional. It's so vast, and it encompasses spheres of the creation that are outside the range of our individual senses, right? So we don't have a context for a lot of for the full nature of the heart of mother. We don't have that. It means that the individual heart stretches a little bit, and it's the mental functions and like the analysis become much more simple, so that the experience is direct. Because it's such a big experience, it's nice for the experience to be right in that space, just direct experience. Of course, my job is to unpack the experience. Well, I do my best. I'll do my best. But first, I just want to make sure that I'm owning it. Part of the dynamic that's taking place here is something that we discussed yesterday, which is all the creation, all that we like, all that we don't like, all that we approve of or don't, or determine to be good or pure versus determining to be not so good or pure. All of it is within the range of the heart's capacity to uplift. Your heart, our hearts, have this innate capacity to take even the darkest, most unpleasant feelings and uplift them and restructure wholeness, restructure the heart of Mother Divine into that experience. Like her heart is moving through our hearts. It's one heart. We are the instruments of her heart. We are the instruments of her heart, flowing the light of our awareness through these physiologies and into these lives and into whatever it is in the life that is not easy or difficult or painful or challenging, and allowing that larger potential of the heart to transform the darkness to light, to transform the challenging situation into a tool for evolution. This is what the heart does. This is its function. It has like one job. The heart has this one job. And then when I say heart, I mean the heart energy center. Physical heart, it also kind of has one job. It it acts as the voice of what's going on in the heart energy center. Your physical heart acts as the voice of that. Um, the beating of the heart is like music, right? It sets up a rhythm or a tempo, a meter. It goes in a 3/4 meter. Dub 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 dun, 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 triplet, triplet. Is the heart. The threefold, see? And it's a threefold value of the mother of creation. It's a threefold beating in the actual physical heart. And that beating sets up the magnetic field that then talks to all the other organs and systems of the body and keeps everything flowing in the right direction, the direction of highest health. So this shift in the heart energy center is a very tiny shift, but it's making changes. As I'm unpacking it, you can see it's like dominoes or something, that it works its way all the way up to the physical material, and the result is improved health. Improved health, and more balanced approach to reality, and deeper understanding and wisdom. That process of, I would like to go back and ask the mother of creation, since our hearts are a little more like aligned with her energy, let's, as a collective, we just ask, how can we be in a place? How can we self-position so that this process of integrating our heart energy center with the heart of the mother of creation is ongoing, continuous, um, comfortable enough that the nervous system has time to adapt and modify around the experience. The nervous system is like the carrier of the consciousness in a way. I mean, all the different parts of the body carry consciousness. They all have consciousness, but the nervous system is really that vehicle through which we apply our awareness and attention. For example, senses of perception, right? You choose to look in some direction or another. We choose, we have choices. So the nervous system is extremely important. The flexibility and the stability of the nervous system, adaptability and stability of the nervous system are essential for creating a condition whereby this process is ongoing and it is integrating as it goes. Well, that's it. It has to integrate into the nervous system as it goes. So the nervous system has to be flexible and stable enough to integrate the experience as the experience continues, as the closeness in the heart to the mother creation becomes more and more and more and more. It also accelerates. Well, my question is, if the nervous system, can the nervous system handle that? And if not, what needs to be done exactly? And the answer is yes, the nervous system is also so constructed that if the changes in the nervous system are happening in a sequential way, then each change acts as a foundation for the next change, and you build up a system. And this has to do with the planet Saturn, because Saturn oversees the nervous system. I understand also the bones, but the nervous system. So you build up in layers, sequential layers. Of stability and adaptability so that the nervous system is able to stand on its own previous construction in order to take the next step. And that does give rise to a condition whereby one can keep up with an accelerated pace of integration between the individual constructs on the level of consciousness, like the individual form of the heart, the deepest, finest feeling level down here with the mother creation. The mother creation, which is like the whole package. Just feeling that shift. I'm so grateful. A lot of times when we do a healing, just telling you from inside here what goes on too. Anytime we do a healing that's really right on the money, I often, my ears will go whoop, like that, and they'll like open up and I can hear like better than I did before. I'm so grateful. May that be for everybody. But that's also, it's like the body is speaking, right? The body's saying, oh yeah, well, the senses of perception, which are essentially extensions of the brain, like the brain has all those little organs, right? And then the senses of perception are also, and it happens inside the ear like that. It means that, oh, the nervous system just took on another level of clarity and uh, stability and the ability to know through the senses and the ability for the senses to know at a very fine level, to not just know what's going on up here, but to know what's going on down at the deeper levels, which does echo back a little bit to one of the questions from yesterday. So I hope that this healing is helping that for everybody. It's helping for the promote a condition in the heart energy center that allows the heart to function in such a way that the senses of perception refine. Because the relationship between devotion and refinement of senses of perception is intimate. It's intimate. What we choose to do and say and think and feel, it influences and affects the nervous system, but it also affects that heart energy center, and it refines the heart energy center. And that refinement then causes the heart to beat in such a way that it influences, and I'm still getting upgrades in my senses of perception. I'm just asking, being that everybody was receiving that. Everybody's receiving the upgrades in the senses of perception. I've probably had 5 or 6 upgrades now in my ears just since we started talking about this. So may it be that it's for everyone. And if you're not experiencing it immediately, don't worry, because a lot of the work that we do in these webinars will reflect into, will be reviewed in dream and sleep state. And when you get a chance to see it from those other angles or other functions or modes of the nervous system, then that will often integrate the experience. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I can hear better. Oh, I can feel better. Oh, I can see better. Maybe for everyone. It's my only desire, is that the work we do upgrades everyone's physiologies to the maximum ability that it can. You see a lot of people also releasing a certain amount of certain feelings in the face area, in the face and head area, in the sinuses. You know, that's where we cry, right? It's all up in that area. So there's some releasing of blockages in the face area, the face and behind the face, in the sinuses and the cavities, the various ventricles of the brain. There are all these spaces in our heads. The ears, there's spaces. The mouth is a space, lots of spaces. Sometimes the discordant feelings, they lodge themselves in places that we wouldn't think to look. Like who would think to look? Oh, in the spaces. And for people in the mouth is a great space, right? The releasing of discordant feelings in the mouth is very helpful for anybody who wants to improve their eating habits. Who would have thought this discordant feelings in the mouth are responsible? I'm also seeing meridians from the solar plexus up to the mouth area, clearing, same discordant feelings. And between the solar plexus and the mouth is what? The heart energy center, of course. So the healing for the heart energy center went out into the senses and then it created this clearing of the area around the heart energy center from the solar plexus up to the mouth area. So this is the fold of consciousness into its own nature, giving rise to an upgrade for the whole physiology, because the heart is the conductor of the orchestra. So beautiful, so beautiful. Let's look at some questions. I know it's not quite question time. Like we've got about 34, precisely 34 minutes until the end, but I really want to make sure that I cover all questions, and I know more questions are coming in. So let's do this. Sincere question. She has an issue of confusion regarding her life path. Purpose, and the next move in general. Can we release a block causing confusion and lacking direction or clarity? So we just dive into the silence. Then go into the, every time you dive in and dive out, every time you go in and out, we like wake up and activate the gap area. So just diving in. The individual choice of direction to go will be fulfilled most gracefully when that choice is aligned with the cosmic intention as well. So cosmic intention for what this life should do, and individual intention for what this life should do. Unifying. It's in the heart area, it's in the throat area. Always, when we're thinking life path, this type of question and purpose is about what can I do that will both benefit me and also benefit the world around me. So we're thinking of ourselves, but we're thinking of the field around, the people that you serve in your life as extensions of your own nature, extensions of yourself. That's why it's so common for people who've had a traumatic upbringing to be very, very good at counseling people who've had a traumatic upbringing, right? Right? People often will become counselors or social workers when they've had difficult childhoods themselves. Um, it partly has to do with age too, because if you're young, you can structure a career path that's more elaborate. And if you're middle-aged or older, you can't really structure a kind of a career path that's going to say ripen in 3 decades, right? If you're like in your 40s or something, then you have to think in terms of a career path that's going to evolve and like come to its fullness in like 5 years rather than 30 years. And also the nature of how much personal investment is required. But what I'm seeing mostly is a blockage in the solar plexus related to this. And the solar plexus is where your personal power resides, and clearing impressions and memory patterns of having one's personal power slapped down over the course of time. We talked a little bit about that yesterday too. I think there was some focus on this patterning of being kind of pushed down again, 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 and what that takes to rise up again, 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 again. But clearing those memory patterns and impressions, particularly in past incarnations, of having been wanting to just be very kind of outflowing and sharing and all that, and then realizing, no, no, that's not okay. You just get in trouble for that. So that, I think I've told this story when I came here and it seemed like everyone was kind of austere. I came into this community of meditation and university that focused on meditation. It seemed like people tended to be quite austere, and they didn't seem to have the same kind of internal drives that I'd seen in the exterior world. I mean, I didn't see people like doing a lot of things like just to feed addictions or entertainment, or this kind of thing. So I said to one lady, it's the idea of being enlightened that you don't have desires. And she said, no, no, not at all. Not at all. Desires are so good. They drive you to experience those things that will elicit an evolutionary response. Those weren't her exact words, but basically the desires, you pursue a desire, and in the process of pursuing the desire, you actually find yourself in a situation or setting that allows you to evolve. That's the principle there. And that in the end, it's the evolution that was the important thing, not necessarily fulfilling the specific desire. Although it's nice when that happens too, right? I mean, I would think. And I think that's the whole reason that we do energy healing, is so that we get both. You want one, another saying from the community here was 200% of life, 100% material fullness and wellness and balance and health, and 100% absolute totality, wholeness, eternal being, silence, both, both, both. It's like music. Silence and dynamism. Music is not music without the rests or gaps between the notes, right? Okay, how do we navigate working with people who are asking for our help in ways that are not coming from an authentic place? From ego, disguising itself as the heart. Well, that's such a good question. The thing is that one has to not be afraid to break through the boundaries and limitations that they set up, because people will set up, they'll say, if they're coming from a non-genuine location place, then they'll almost always will also put constraints on you on how you can help them, right? Because there'll be an agenda. When there's like a hidden agenda, it means, well, yes, you can help them, but you have to do it under certain conditions. You have to, and they're very sensitive in this way, so you have to be careful of that, and you're walking on eggshells and that sort of thing, right? So the principle here is one has to find a way to break through all the bull that's on the surface. One has to find a way of bringing out the truth, and not necessarily being afraid that you might not have, there may not at the outset be the most positive response. But the fact is that we are the universe for each person that we interact with. And the universe is trying so hard to bring the truth into everyone, right? And as long as it's done in a way, as I've mentioned before, fine discrimination and measured regularity. If you bring the truth to the person, what they need is the truth. When somebody's acting like that, they've brought the issue to you because you have the ability to see what the real fundamental is, what the actual issue behind the issue is. So that's what they want. That's what we all want. That's what I want. That's what you want. We want the issue behind the issue. We want the real truth, the genuine truth, the absolute truth. But when a person's functioning in a way that, there's small ego, and so that they're putting boundaries and barriers to the truth at the same time. So the big soul, the big self wants the truth, but the little self is like, well, I'm kind of afraid of the truth. So you can give me the truth, but you have to do it the right way. Otherwise, I won't listen to you, or I will discount you, or I will pretend like you didn't say that, or tell you that you're wrong, or whatever, whatever. Then what you do is you bring the truth out with discrimination and measured, and discrimination means you bring it out in its simplest, deepest form. Very simple, very much integrated to absolute truth, to the laws of nature. Simple and logical and straightforward. And you do it in a way that's kind. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be riddled with insults. Just just straightforward. And then let it go. And if they get it, great. They will appreciate you for your honesty, for having been honest with them, even if they couldn't be honest with you. But if they can't get it, or maybe they lash out at you and like they didn't really want to hear the truth, right? Then you did what you could do. You did your best with them. And maybe it's time to move on to somebody else. It's time to let somebody else bring the truth to them in another way. Like they'll keep getting it. They'll get it from you. They'll get it from someone else. They'll get it from the breeze that blew through their window or whatever. They'll get it in whatever way they can get it. And eventually they will get it. But we do our best. You do your best. If the small self, has to take a little bit of a back seat to look at the bigger picture, then there's still some fulfillment in looking at that bigger picture. Thanks for the question. I hope that helped. Regarding the question yesterday on sharing the 4 stages of the gap diagram, yes, you did make the diagram. Oh, you don't mind sharing? Oh, thank you so much. So yeah, I was showing everybody. Let's see if I can do this. I'm just going to flash it up on the screen for a second so everybody can see it. Thank you so much. You're the best. Thank you so much. There it is. And there it is. So this is the diagram. Thank you very much for letting everyone, I'm not putting any name. No, it's anonymous, but here it is, the diagram. And you can see my cursor circling the diagram. I'm circumambulating the diagram. And it shows there's this collapse into the silence of being, Pabam Sava, above. You can see I'm having trouble pronouncing this. And then the silence in the gap is Atyanta above. And then Anyonya above is the dynamism within the silence, which is the same as your pure potential. And then, oh, geez. And then the emergence, above. Okay, we're going to stop sharing. A little fail. Good gravy. I sure do feel that. Very palpable. Good. Face, head, good. Good, good. Here's another question. Interestingly, I've been crying for about the past 20 minutes. Oh, definitely some releasing taking place. I'm so glad. Good. We all deserve that. We all deserve that. Yeah, front teeth and tummy. Good. And these are just people commenting on the healing that we just did. Thank yous coming in. Okay, so this lady's asking how to increase the connection to the wholeness in order to increase the volume of life flow. That is just such a beautiful, it's such a good connect. It's such a good question. It's such a good question. I really appreciate it. So the focus here is at finer and finer levels of the physiology, the refinement and alignment of the nervous system and so forth is present to allow the infinite resource from the source of creation to come through to the physical material level. Clearing. We're just clearing. We're clearing. This is a connection through the female lineage and the mitochondria in the physiology because it's the mitochondria that are really responsible for the flow, the physical, visceral experience of the flow of knowledge, excuse me, flow of energy too, knowledge and energy, but not especially energy, especially energy. So this is the flow through the mother's contribution. And what this does is we're going back many, many generations of mothers and supporting their ability to gain access to the source of creation, through their hearts. So the same healing that we were doing before that connects the heart with the heart of the mother of creation. Now, for the mothers of creation, the mothers of your creation, the mothers of your physiology, this connection through the heart. So the same healing that we did for ourselves, we're now doing it again. It's like, remember I was saying how yesterday, how the whole creation is like a fractal in form. Well, same thing. That we do the big healing for ourselves in our big collective and all of us connecting in with the heart of the mother of creation. Now we're doing it again out like another like layer a little bit further away from us, but through our ancestry. Just feeling the shift in the heart. It's the same shift that we did before, but we're doing it again faster and deeper and at a more refined level in a way that touches the mother's heart. And here, of course, the bond between mother and child is a bond of love. So that connection is a little more dominating. I think last time I was saying that this flow, you have the knowledge flow and the heart flow, and then the integration into wholeness is like the mama bear flow. But that the heart flow is what dominates the entire spectrum of the manifest field of creation, because these flows are intimately connected to the three gunas, which I've talked about before and should be on my knowledge base. If they're not, I need to work on that. But sattva, and then rajas maintains, and even as Thomas comes in to bring everything back to wholeness, there's still a maintaining element there, so that we can actually experience something in the material field of creation. If there weren't these three gunas, especially rajas, which is the maintaining energy, which is also associated with that mother divine quality of the heart, then there wouldn't be nothing would maintain at all. So it would just like happen so fast, like the whole entirety of the entire spectrum of the whole field of everything, just it wouldn't lay out in a sequential unfoldment that lets us experience it and lets being enjoy the experience too through us. So it is that maintaining energy that's really important for the relative. It's important for the material level of creation. That for the mothers, because they tend to blame themselves. This is clearing blame in the hearts of the mothers. They tend to, mothers always blame themselves. If anything happens with a child, oh, it's definitely my fault. But they also blame themselves for things that they see in themselves that they don't feel is perfect. And the thing is, without those perfections, there wouldn't be the opportunity for the evolution. And it's the evolution that feeds back into the source of creation and makes a human life meaningful to the creator. It is our imperfections that make us precious to the creator. Yeah, so this for download for the mothers, to their hearts, to their hearts. Without imperfections, what is there to fix? What is there to change? What is there to grow? The imperfections are the symptoms at the surface, that there's a process taking place within. It's not that you are the imperfections. It's that you have chosen those particular imperfections in this lifetime in order to be a conduit for the integration of divine mother energy into this world. Because then her energy comes through that area, that point where the imperfection is. It's perfect. The imperfections are perfections. They become perfections in that way. For the mothers, for the mothers, for the mothers, for their hearts, for their bodies, for their minds. Um, yeah, so that's healing for the mothers is ultimately a healing to purify and clarify the field of mitochondria in the physiology. The mitochondria, they're independent beings in our bodies, and yet they're responsible for the flow of energy in our bodies. And so their robust health is an essential component in our robust energy, in the volume and flow of energy and life force in us. As it shows up as actual energy, as actual chi, um, and actual physical energy. Also, when the mitochondria feel free to reproduce in a more robust manner, that means you have more mitochondria. And I have recently discovered that one of the keys to that is movement. Movement gives rise to, it creates a condition in the muscles, and that's where most of the mitochondria are in the muscles, and especially in the heart. So any kind of cardio type of exercise, you know, they say the latest and greatest diet fads say, well, don't do cardio. Well, that's fine. But if you do any kind of nice exercise, even just walking, that this will improve the reproductive capacity and potential of your mitochondria, and that's a good thing. Okay, let's go to a question over here because I see we've got more questions. Um, do we consciously need to know our heart's desire? It adds a whole new dimension to knowing oneself, yes? Looking forward to tomorrow, yes. Yes, so the thing is that the heart's desire, and this is where this kind of harkens back to where I was talking about the different incarnations, right? And that how the heart's desire evolves over time. So also our understanding or appreciation or recognition of our heart's desire also evolves over time, partly because the heart's desire is evolving. So it's becoming more and more refined with each incarnation, but also because our consciousness expands and our nervous system refines as we go through this process. And in this case, also our mitochondria evolve. Everything is evolving, everything, physical, mental, emotional. As that happens, the ability, and remember the exercise we did, the healing we did for refinement of perception, that allows one to experience the heart's desire at a more superficial level, but also experience it as a deeper, more refined level, at a more refined level. And there's a point where your heart's desire merges with your pure potential. And that's where the desire, the heart's desire of the mother of creation becomes one with the individual heart's desire. So the better one is able to recognize and appreciate one's own heart's desire at a really deep level, the more spontaneously the heart's desire integrates with the desire of the creator. And as that happens, it makes the heart's desire so refined and so powerful. So just looking there, see if there's some healing we can do for that. The healing for refinement of perception and senses, of course, was part of that. This clearing from the solar plexus, there's still more energies clearing from the solar plexus, having to do with refinement of the way your power shows up in the world. Oh, that makes sense. That's so interesting, right? That so there's a refinement in the solar plexus. This is also going to be very helpful for the lady who's dealing with difficult people, because in order for the truth to come forward in a way that's accessible to others, it can't, I mean, it can come forward in a really rough way. I've been watching videos of parent-teacher meetings. For those of you who are watching videos of parent-teacher meetings, you know what I'm talking about. And boy, some of those get pretty rough. But that's at a collective level how the truth is coming forward right now. The truth is coming forward in a particular way, and it's coming forward through our collective, and as such, it's happening in a way that's those individuals who come up and are the voice of the collective tend to be presenting in not such a refined way, not such a delicate way, because they're trying to communicate how important their message is. And they feel that the emotional content of their message, the anger, is somehow necessary to make it clear that they're not messing around and that it's very important what they're doing. But we are looking at the process of self-communication. This isn't about talking to the school board. This is about talking to one's own divine nature. This is about how do we cultivate quality within our own physiology that allows us to evolve as quickly and profoundly as possible. So this is where the refinement is very necessary. And it's okay. The people who are parents at this time who are talking to the school board, that's their job. And it's the karma of the school boards to hear presentations from angry parents or just frightened parents or whatever is going on. But in self-communication, we have choices. So this is what is happening. It's helping to soften the way we self-communicate so that the communication comes down to this level, and this gap is so delicate. It's really, really soft. Even if it's a little shift, it's like, what is it, the butterfly wing, right? That causes, tidal waves or something. It's a very little tiny movement that make big changes at the surface, big changes at the surface. And I'm trying to remember to speak at the same volume level so that you guys don't fade, I don't fade in and out. I'm not sure if that exactly answered the question. I mean, certainly it's kind of a yes or no question. Do we consciously need to know our heart's desire? I would say yes. And we all do consciously know our heart's desire, but the better we know it, the better it is for everybody. Here's another one. Does finding the gap increase with greater self-honesty? Oh, that's beautiful. And is that willingness plus intention enough? I think the greater self-honesty in this case, at least this is the way the pattern seems to show up to me, is a process of kind of stripping away everything that's not necessary or not genuine. So yeah, definitely self-honesty in that we let go of any bits and pieces that are not are not useful in the short or long run. I was going to say are not beneficial in the long run, but the thing is, sometimes you have to pick up something in the short run in order to ultimately do well in the long run. Sometimes, like, there was a remote healing session we were doing the other day, and one of the things that happened in that remote healing session was a lot of emotional padding came in and was sort of like just padding around the heart and protecting everyone so that we could make a certain particular move in that remote healing session. And then once that move was made, then all the excess padding could be released. But the padding was necessary for at least a temporary period of time. Is it not safer and better to actually not get involved with those who lack authenticity? That's another question. Unless one really has what it takes to not get influenced or gripped or overwhelmed by that energy, which causes a cringe, something inside which can have various levels of discomfort. Yeah, I mean, there's a ancient Vedic principle. There's a Vedic principle of keeping company with the wise. If we can, it's good to seek out friendships and closeness with people who are more evolved. There's a value in that. We help each other. Thank you all for being here. I feel so fortunate and blessed. So yeah, there's definitely a value in that. But sometimes one does have to deal with difficult personalities anyways. Or even enlightened people, even people that are at a very high level of consciousness have their moments. So So it's good to have those skill sets in place so that you can help the people that you love. There are ways of bringing out the truth by asking them questions to the point that they themselves come to the truth. Right. Oh yeah, this is a really good point. I actually thought of this when I was saying the other thing. Yeah, there are ways of yeah, I just saw like something on YouTube the other day about this too. That there are ways of presenting the truth to someone so that the other person thinks that they thought of it, that they thought of that idea. And that kind of has to do with like negotiation skills. And so, and you can do that. And I think that that part of that skill, part of that particular type of negotiation skill requires using fine discrimination and measuring out what you say. Like that's part of that story, are these two skill sets, right? That the situation is difficult. I remember it was a master class being offered. It was like an advertisement on YouTube by a guy who's one of the top hostage negotiators in the world. And like he's the guy that goes in when people are sitting at gunpoint and has to talk to the people holding the hostages to get them to put down the guns and to back away slowly. Right. And so he's like really good at that. And so he was kind of describing his masterclass. And usually I don't listen to those ads at all, but this guy was so good. I was really enjoying. I didn't take his class, but I was like, yeah, that's so right on. Absolutely beautiful. This is covered in some of courses on communications and negotiations. Oh, so you're teaching this too? Oh my gosh. First, you have to listen to the person and respond to show you are listening. Right. You have to listen to their side. Um, and their open-ended questions to lead them to realize the truth themselves. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I'm going to say that again for everyone because there's the formula right there, folks. First, you listen to the other person and you respond to show that you're listening. And I think the guy on YouTube was saying you use about 3 words to reflect back to them what they just said to you. So they may say, I'm feeling really up. I'm feeling so upset because this terrible traumatic experience I've just been through, it's absolutely awful. And you say something like, the trauma makes you feel upset. And they're like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling, but just if you don't go too detailed, but you just say it to them like that. And then so first you show them that you're listening by like mirroring back to them what they're saying to you. And then you pick up on their open-ended questions. That's brilliant. You are so brilliant. I love you. Thank you for being in my world. And then you lead them to realize the truth for themselves through the open-ended questions. Oh, beautiful. And then the lady's saying thank you who asked that original question about difficult people. Thank you, sweetheart, for being with us. And one lady's saying that um, she's feeling a lot of the healing happening in her uterus. And she's wondering, is anybody else feeling any healing in the reproductive system or yeah, oh, look, 3 people are raising up their hands immediately. So yes, dear heart, 4, 5, I'm also 3 more people. Okay, so lots of people are also feeling that. And of course, that ties back into the healing for mothers, right? And the fact that the laws of nature today are dominated by the mother of creation, and that as we are doing this healing and we're feeling the changes in the reproductive system, it means that we are literally performing an act which not only heals us, but it heals the mother of creation as well. Because in a sense, that is like a big connector point for women, at least, to the mother of creation. I'm not so sure. I guess I have to look into that. That is, I suppose, any reproductive activities. Yeah, I'm looking. Immediately she's looking. I'm looking. That all the reproductive, the experience of reproduction, it connects to that most essential aspect, or I would say dharma or role of the mother of creation that she creates. She creates the creation. Regarding yesterday, would the mechanics of holding the gap open be in terms of the infinity symbol? Oh, that's such a cool idea. The infinity looping of absolute energy flowing as the ever-present oneness of manifestation, right? So it's like that. Yes, and in fact, the diagram I sent you, it looks like two like vortexes, but really I am sure there's an infinity symbol in that form. It's just that diagram was very simple, so it was just showing it, in a simple way, but it actually is a kind of infinity symbol. Absolutely, because it folds back in on itself. There's a Vedic term called Dumru, which is the drum of Shiva. And the Dumru is shaped kind of like this. And so that's kind of an infinity symbol shape, right? Oh, I love that. That was brilliant. The pain on the sole of her foot is feeling much better, able to move better. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was just a thank you. You're welcome. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to put attention in. Here's another person. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Yes. So that refers back to that imperfection being the way that the divine comes through. Please share that YouTube about truth. Oh, this is an ask to use the clip from today's session about truth on YouTube. Thank you for that suggestion, because we're always at this end thinking, oh, what would be the most useful points from the live webinar to give to everybody on YouTube. So thank you for that. Chris Voss's book, like you say, is perfect for this, The Hostage Negotiator. Oh yeah, the guy might have been Chris Voss. I don't know, but thank you. So the name of The Hostage Negotiator, famous guy is Chris Voss. Thank you for that. Listening with compassion, as though you are going through that yourself. Oh, that's a beautiful, yes, right? So beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Sometimes I doubt myself, and I guess I shouldn't. That's the lady who asked if other people were experiencing in their uteruses too. So amazing, right? Amazing, amazing, because you tied this back into the mother of creation, which is the highest. It's the highest. It's the highest you can get. And on that note, beautifully, we have come to our hour and 15 minutes, like nothing in no time at all. We got through all the questions, which was so beautiful. Lovely to have all the Europeans with us today. Um, and Oh, and there's a lady asking a question about past lives, but that question is making me think, I don't think we've ever done a webinar on past lives. So that could be like a way cool topic. I'm just about to start formulating some new webinar topics. So you're making me think, and thank you for your experience and sharing that she had a beautiful experience with her past lives. So thank you all so much for being with me. I love you dearly, and it's been a wonderful time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in 3 weeks. All right, thank you everyone for being with me. See you all soon. Bye-bye.